When you picture Hong Kong, you likely see the ultimate vertical metropolis, a dense concrete jungle packing in more skyscrapers than New York City. That skyline hides a geographic reality. If you pull back from the harbor, you find that 75% of the entire territory is composed of steep, unbuildable mountains and heavily protected nature reserves. That leaves 7.5 million people and one of the world's most active economies fighting for space on the tiny remaining slivers of flat land. So how exactly do you build a top-tier financial hub when you are literally running out of room? You engineer your way out. The iconic towers you see are a calculated battle for survival against geography. The first solution was to create new land where none existed. Hong Kong began aggressively filling in the ocean with earth and rock to expand its coastline through land reclamation. 25% of the modern business district sits on artificial ground, and the entire Cheklip International Airport was built from scratch directly on top of reclaimed ocean. But pushing back the sea only buys so much time. Once lateral expansion hit its limits, the city had no choice but to stack its population toward the sky. This created some of the most concentrated living conditions on the planet. In the Kwantong district, 61,000 people share a single square kilometer. This extreme vertical squeeze forces many residents into coffin flats, homes barely larger than a bed. Navigating this steep, tiered terrain on foot requires entirely new infrastructure. To solve this, the city constructed a massive outdoor covered escalator network spanning 800 meters to move commuters directly up the mountain slopes. Geography forced Hong Kong to operate as a three-dimensional puzzle. Every cubic foot of volume is measured and optimized for human existence. Yet, the concrete and steel of this hyper-modern environment are governed by ancient rules. Hong Kong's urban planning is heavily dictated by the traditional Chinese principles of feng shui. Look closely at the luxury high-rises. You will spot massive, multi-story holes punched right through the center. These are dragon gates. Developers treat these voids as vital urban management tools. They are deliberately left empty so that mythical dragons living in the mountains can pass freely through the buildings to drink from the sea, ensuring the city's success. The reason millions of people crammed onto this highly constrained rock in the first place stems from complex geopolitics. During the 19th century Opium Wars, Britain seized the island to anchor its trade networks in Asia. For over a century and a half, it operated as a British colony. That ended with the 1997 handover, transferring sovereignty back to Communist China. To manage this collision of ideologies, they established the one country, two systems framework. Hong Kong retained its own currency, its own common law courts, and the free market capitalism that powers its financial hub, while existing inside a communist state. Just as its engineers built physical land out of the ocean, its leaders engineered a specific, autonomous political space to survive between two vastly different systems. The pressure of existing in this dense, competitive environment forged a specific cultural mindset, locally known as the Lion Rock spirit. It represents the ethos of the people, a relentless perseverance, a rapid adaptability, and a collective refusal to surrender to hardship, no matter how steep the climb. This resilience allows deep traditional roots to thrive even as the city accelerates. You can see it in customs like dragon boat racing, an ancient competition staged right against the backdrop of an industrial harbor. At the same time, the culture absorbs contrasting Western influences. British legacy sports are heavily celebrated, drawing massive international crowds to the Hong Kong Sevens rugby tournament. And high up above the frantic, hyper-capitalist machine of the city, immense symbols of ancient peace remain undisturbed. The 34-meter bronze Tiantan Buddha sits high in the mountains, a quiet anchor for millions. This is the defining paradox of the territory. It is a place composed of extreme constraints and stark dualities, maintaining a functioning, if delicate, cohesion. Hong Kong is an ongoing experiment in what happens when human ingenuity is pushed to its absolute edge. It demonstrates that severe limitations don't just restrict a society, they force it to reinvent itself to survive.